The other day I got an email and I learned that Mrs. Tagg had died, and all of a sudden I realized all the things that my fifth grade teacher meant to me. She taught me how to respect the flag. She taught me how to write cursive carefully, back when they did that sort of thing. I remember Mrs. Tagg saying you should always say please and thank you. Our elementary school teachers made permanent character footprints in our lives that we don't even realize.
My favorite teacher is Miss Taunton.
Miss Dix.
I have 3 favorite teachers.
My 6th grade English teacher, Miss Roll.
My favorite teacher is Miss Lyle.
Maurice Stills.
My 4th grade teacher, Miss Gunn.
Miss Robinson.
I was blessed to have Miss Burher teach me in 2nd grade.
My favorite teacher would probably have to be Miss Nelson.
My favorite teacher was Mrs. Horn.
In 5th grade, I was privileged to have my mother, Janice Randolph, as a teacher.
Miss Kachelman.
Mrs. Wall, and she was my grade 2 teacher.
Miss Copeland is my favorite teacher because she was probably the nicest teacher I ever got.
Miss Porterfield taught me how to read, Miss Phillips taught me how to take AR tests, and Miss Brolin taught me to do manners.
She taught me science, history, and math.
I learned a lot of things. I learned how to say words in complete sentences.
Rounding numbers, math, reading.
Well, everybody usually finishes everything because she helps you with it and you get it done.
He helps the people that aren't playing their instrument right. He goes over there and he helps them like get it right or get it on track of getting it right.
Adding, grouping with adding, subtracting.
She teaches me how to read.
She made me overcome a fear of reading out loud, and now I love to read out loud.
She saw potential in me. She knew that I could if I wanted to, and she helped me to want to.
She would always like pull me aside and like just got me to like read like an article of something. Like if she had a newspaper, she'd be like, "Oh, Kaylin, what does this say?"
She cared about me. I wrote stories and drew pictures for her, and she put them on the wall.
She taught me to read, and if she hadn't taught me to read, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things I like to do.
She laid the foundation of preparation and organization.
And she really pushed me to read scripture and say prayers during chapel when I was really, really shy.
The lessons from the 5th grade and being a 10-year-old really didn't they were planted there as seeds, but they really didn't blossom until much later.
And today I look back and remember her as being kind of like a second mom.
I love Miss Kachelman. Thank you, Mrs. Horn.
Thank you, Mrs. Lyle.
Thank you, Mrs. Bloom.
Thank you, Miss Robinson. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Burher, for being a very patient teacher with me who was a squirrely student. Your example is what I try to live up to every day.
Thank you, Miss Gunn.
Thank you, Mrs. Copeland.
Mrs. Wall, thank you for helping me find my love to read.
Thank you, Mrs. Buxbaum.
Thank you, Miss Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. K.
You meant a lot to me, and you still do, and I love you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Taunton.
Thank you, Mrs. Dix.
Thank you, Mrs. Tagg.
Thank you, Miss Kachelman.
I'm thankful for you and for this profession that you gave me.
Thanks for making me have a good year.